They beat the widow daily, then the rich rancher married her for a reason nobody expected. Everyone in Red Creek knew Mara Ellison as the widow who lived at the edge of town, in a weather-beaten house that leaned like it was tired of standing. Since her husband died in a ranch accident, life had hardened around her. The men who had once called her, ma'am, now called her, easy trouble. Creditors came too often, neighbors too little, and the local roughs found her the easiest target for their cruelty. Day after day, insults turned into shoves, shoves into blows, and the town looked away as if pain were just another dust storm. Mara learned to measure time by bruises fading and returning. She worked where she could, mended what she had, and buried her fear beneath a quiet dignity. She never begged, even when her ribs ached and her face swelled, she walked with her head up, because pride was the last thing no one could steal. Still, every night she wondered how long a person could survive on dignity alone. The men who hurt her were not strangers. They were the sons of ranch hands, small-time enforcers for landowners who wanted her property. Her late husband's land sat right where a new cattle route was planned, and her refusal to sell made her an obstacle. Fear, they believed, would do what money could not. So they beat her, certain no one powerful cared enough to stop them. Across the valley lived Thomas Calder, the richest rancher for miles. His land stretched farther than most men could ride in a day, and his name carried weight in courts and saloons alike. He was known as a hard man, fair, but unyielding. Rumor said he had no heart left after his wife died years earlier. When word spread that Calder had married Mara Ellison, the town nearly choked on its own disbelief. People whispered that she must have tricked him, that she was after his money, that no decent man would choose a battered widow with nothing to offer. Others said Calder simply wanted her land. The gossip burned hotter than the sun, but neither Mara nor Thomas offered explanations. They married quietly, without celebration, and Mara moved into the Calder ranch house the very next day. For the first time in months, no one touched her. The men who once waited near her home vanished like ghosts. Yet the marriage felt strange and distant. Thomas treated her with respect, but also with formality, as if they were business partners sharing a roof. He never reached for her hand, never spoke of love. At night, they slept in separate rooms, the silence between them thick with unanswered questions. Mara finally asked him why. One evening, as the sky bled red over the fields, she faced him across the long wooden table. She told him she needed the truth more than comfort. Thomas studied her for a long moment, then nodded. He told her about his son. Years ago, Thomas's only child had fallen in love with a woman the town rejected, a poor widow accused of causing her husband's death. The cruelty she endured broke her spirit, and when Thomas's son tried to protect her, the town turned on him too. A fight ended badly. His son died from injuries that should never have happened, and Thomas learned too late that silence can be as deadly as fists. I watched people destroy someone they thought was weak, he said, his voice low. And I did nothing soon enough. When he heard about Mara, he recognized the pattern immediately. The same lies, the same violence, the same convenient blindness. This time, he decided, it would end differently. He knew power spoke louder than pleas. By marrying her, he placed her under his protection in the only language the town understood. Mara listened, tears tracing paths down scars no one could see. For the first time, someone had not only seen her suffering but named it for what it was, injustice. Life slowly changed. Thomas didn't just shield her, he stood beside her. He used his influence to expose the men who had hurt her, forcing the town to confront what it had allowed. Some were jailed, others fled, and the rest learned fear for the first time. Mara began to heal, not all at once, but enough to breathe easier, to laugh softly again, to sleep without listening for footsteps. As seasons passed, the formality between them softened. They talked, then shared meals, then shared silences that felt safe instead of empty. Thomas admired her resilience, Mara saw the grief beneath his strength. What began as protection grew into something neither had planned but both needed. The town eventually understood that the marriage was not a scheme or a scandal. It was a reckoning. Mara Ellison was never beaten again. Not because she married rich, but because someone finally refused to let cruelty hide behind power. And in that refusal, two broken lives found a reason to stand whole again.